Welcome, Stacey, to Quick and Delish Conversations. It's wonderful to have you here. This conversation is important and about how people make meal planning happen in a doable way. We don't talk about the nitty gritty, like how to make all the aspects of meal planning, eating healthy actually happen, because there's a lot of steps. There's the planning part, there's the shopping part, there's the prep, there's cooking, the eating part, which is most everybody's favorite part. And then there's the cleanup and then the storage and then kind of like do it again. So I love, having conversations with you and other people about how to make this whole thing happen in a doable way. So it doesn't feel like, oh my God, I got to eat again. It should be like, I get to eat again.
Exactly.
Stacey Tunteri, it's fabulous to have you here to start this conversation. And you are a professional organizer. Tell me how you got to be a professional organizer. Why is this your jam?
All right. Well, I've been an unprofessional organizer pretty much my whole entire life. So, growing up, there was kind of a joke in my household that I filed my underwear. So you open up my underwear drawer, everything is sort of neatly in there from the top down. You can see all of the contents. I do that with my t-shirts, and I always have. That's just the way that I am built. That's just what I have always done. And anytime I am in a new space or at a friend's house and somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, this space just bugs me so much," I'm like, "Hold, please." And do something to help them actually get a little more efficiency out of their routine. So I've been doing that for fun forever. And in 2019, I took a little self-imposed sabbatical from my corporate gig, and I figured, I'll just take some time off and then I'll go right back to it. But while I had time off, I redid every space in my house from top to bottom. So all of my closets, all of my drawers, everything got real tidy real quick. And then I ran out of projects and I was like, what am I gonna do now? And I thought, okay, if this is what I'm doing for fun, and this is a thing that most people consider tedious drudgery, maybe there's something to that I should explore. So I just started looking into it and I was like, holy cow, this is a actual profession. There's a whole industry around this, and why not me? Like there's got to be room for me too. So I got into it pretty hard a couple of years ago.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
love that. Following the thing that brings you joy anyway. And then it doesn't feel like work.
it never does.
That's how I feel like my gig is cooking, meal planning, and helping people improve their health and stay healthy long term.
Hmm.
So awesome. So tell me about a mealtime growing up.
I kind of split my time between two different households as a kid. So I had my mom, and she got remarried, and my dad, and he got remarried. So he had siblings and, step parents and siblings in both households. And so there was a lot of overlap between the way that we ate dinner in both households. We definitely sat down at a kitchen table for every meal and ate as a family, which I loved. But in the one household, it felt a little bit more like a thing that we just had to do because it's what you have to do. Felt like more of a chore. And in the other household, still kind of that chore aspect, but we had so many kids in that household that it kind of had to be this all hands on deck assembly line operation. So all of us kids got pulled into meal planning, chopping and food prep, deciding what we were going to have. If we did something like pizza night, we'd all kind of pick our own toppings and have our own little corner of the pizza that was sort of customized for us. And it
Oh,
was
that's
like,
so cool.
yeah, it was a way that we could all eat the same thing, but we had lots of types of meals that were semi-customizable, so we could kind of pick and choose, which gave us, like, oh, we have some control over this. Great.
And empowerment.
And empowerment. And then also in that household, like we were really just encouraged to experiment with food, even independently of mom and dad. So we tore up the kitchen on the weekends often. And some things turned out pretty disgusting, and some things were a surprise hit. So we would repeat them, and they kind of got folded into the regular repertoire of food that we ate. So, yeah, my siblings on that side of the family, all of us really got into cooking, and that is a major part of our happiness and life today.
Awesome. I have to interject and ask you about your background. I know that's a picture of your pantry, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this is not staged for this photo. It is my actual real life pantry. It took me several attempts to get it just the way I like it, which I have to say, as an organizer, you rarely get it 100% perfect from the very first try. But after several iterations, I've got spices and I've got all of my baking stuff over here, and also behind me here is a chest freezer. There's a little dry erase board that's magnetized and stuck to the top of it. So I actually write down when I put things into the freezer, whether it's a whole meal that I'm trying to freeze or just elements like ground beef or chicken. I write all of that down so we don't have to open the thing and rifle through it every time we're trying to figure out what to eat. We just look at it and it gives us an idea for meal planning for the week. So all of this has helped my husband and I save a ton of food. We hardly ever waste food anymore because we shop at home first, get inspired by the ingredients we already have, then we create a meal plan around it. Then we strategize about grocery shopping. Which stores are we going to get this stuff from? Are we going to go together or separately or two different stores, divide and conquer? Luckily, we live close to several grocery stores. And then usually on Saturday or Sunday, we will actually do the shopping, come home before anything even goes into the refrigerator. If we're going to have to chop or prep anything for later in the week, we do that day, put it in containers and bags and put it in the refrigerator. And that way, throughout the week, as we're assembling meals for different recipes, it's like open a bag and dump it in. It's already done.
Awesome. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you do a combination, which I'm a huge fan of. Like some of it's just like it's frozen, ready to get warmed up.
Hmm.
And then like a complete meal, and then some of it is like partial stuff that you throw together.
Yep. And the way that, like, part of the reason why I wanted to get my kitchen and my pantry so organized is because if you don't know where things are and you don't know what you already have, you end up buying repeats of things, and then stuff gets freezer burned, it goes bad. 5 years later, you're digging through the bottom of the chest freezer and you're like, oh, this is a science experiment. We don't do that anymore because we're very organized.
Yeah. I know. And there, the feeling of throwing something away from the past just doesn't feel good.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's
I love the chest freezer. I personally don't have one. When I grow up, I plan to have one. Um, and I sometimes I encourage my clients to have like organize the chest freezer so that there's cardboard stacks with like the signage. So if there were like four turkey chilies, then you put a sign above the four turkey chilies that says turkey chili
Mhm.
or chicken salsa verde or whatever, and so that you can reuse the signage.
Yes, perfect. And that's a good a point that I didn't make, which is that everything that goes inside the freezer is labeled. So there's masking tape that's freezer safe, so it doesn't peel off once it freezes. So we just write whatever it is, especially if it's like a soup or a stew or something, and you can't tell by looking at it what it is. We write it on there and just the month that we put it in the freezer, and that way, even if something kind of falls through the cracks and I don't write it on the board, it we can still tell what it is by looking at it. So
Totally,
I do the
totally.
same thing. I'll bundle things and just put the sticker on the top, and that way I can kind of take one thing out from underneath. I love that you said that.
Totally, because you can reuse the cardboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you stack a bunch of stuff, sometimes it might fall over if it's stacked on itself versus if it has cardboard.
Yep.
It's my skills from moving several times in my past.
Yeah.
It helps me remember the power of cardboard. But also the importance of labeling frozen food. I can't it's so important because there's so many times when I looked at my frozen food that I didn't label and just thought that it was just bad because frozen food doesn't look good.
Right.
Even if you whatever you bought at the freezer in the freezer section, that stuff doesn't look good either. And so it's easy to make the assumption that the food is bad, and if it's labeled, you know what it is, and then you remember when you made it and it's delicious. Because it just doesn't look tasty at all.
Exactly.
So make no assumptions that it's bad because it's good. You made it, it's delicious. So you shared a little bit about your husband and your strategy for meal planning in terms of shopping and planning some tell me about like how you guys organize like what you're going to eat in a simple way.
We do a shared family calendar. So I have one calendar for my work. He has a separate calendar for his work. And then we have a family calendar that we share that aggregates all of the different calendars that we both use. And that helps us when we're doing our meal planning, again, typically on a Saturday or Sunday. We can look at our calendar a week in advance and figure out, okay, only one of us is going to be here for dinner on Tuesday. All right, we need 3 lunches this week, not 5, and only for two, like one person versus two. So we really sit there and we do the math about portion, like the number of portions of any given thing that we might need. And from there, we can think, okay, well, a single pot of chili can get us through this entire week. Cool, let's do that. Or maybe we'll get stuff for sandwiches and chili because we might need a lunch or two um, throughout the week. So we buy things that are pretty flexible, and also, we plan around if you're gonna buy fish or something like that, that gets eaten first. So if you're gonna buy, I don't know, you're gonna have a vegetable-based dinner, maybe that can wait until Wednesday because we're gonna be eating fish on Monday and Tuesday because otherwise it goes bad in the fridge. So we look at the number of meals we need, times of day, how easy it needs to be, because if like we're coming in hot at 7 p.m. and we need a quick dinner, then we're not going to sit there and make a cassoulet. We're gonna probably eat a sandwich or something. All of that kind of gets taken into consideration, and because of that, when we do our grocery shopping, again with the food waste, we're never going to the grocery store without a game plan. We do not go grocery shopping without a list or a plan for the week, because that's just a guarantee that you're going to throw stuff in the garbage. It just is. You're not going to want that broccoli 5 days later. If you didn't have a plan for it, it's going to sit there until it rots. Just is.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you
Yeah.
stare at the broccoli like sad broccoli.
Yeah, you're like, inspire me, inspire me. No, you're not inspiring me. Bye. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I love that because like not every week you have to cook like all the meals, right?
Ew.
And sometimes you have the freezer and to use, and sometimes it's just like the super simple. Like I love like the salad soup sandwich concept.
Hmm.
And like the theme nights. Do you guys ever do theme nights, or you have like some structured stuff like sandwiches,
Yeah.
chilies, soups?
We'll do theme week, if anything, because if we do like, let's say Mexican week, I mean, we can make salsa. We'll keep a bunch of avocados. We can make fresh guac every time we use it because I don't really like I don't like the brown film of oxidization that sets over refrigerated guac.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, and then we can do like slow cooker pulled chicken, or uh, I'll chop up a head of cabbage and make kind of like a slaw that can go on tacos or burritos, fajitas. I'll do a big batch of rice in the rice cooker. All of those little condiments. Oh, pickled onions. I love pickled onions. So we do a batch of that. Maybe some black beans. So you got like a jar of 10 different things in the refrigerator throughout the week. And then breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can just kind of pull elements out of the fridge and either put it on a tortilla or over a bowl of rice, or just stick a fork in it and eat it right out of the jar. Because sometimes that happens too. If you're really in a hurry, you're just like, beans, get in my face. So yeah, that is a real huge time saver. And then a lot of that stuff too, if you don't go all the way through it, like beans freeze really easily and really well. So extra beans, put it in the freezer. You can even freeze rice. It doesn't reconstitute wonderfully, but you can do it. There are ways to reheat it. So that way,
Especially if it's with sauce.
yeah. And that's a lot of what, like, if we get to the end and we still have a couple of miscellaneous items and maybe we're not going to be here for the weekend, so we don't want to leave it in the fridge. Mix it all together, make its own special dish and stick that in the freezer.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, mix and match. Yeah, sometimes like it's the theme the whole week. Sometimes it's that night. And I think it's so important, I think, to think about it. We don't need to eat something different every day for every
Mhm.
meal. Sometimes I feel like people want to work with me and be like, Alicia, create a meal plan for me that's different for all the meals. And that's one that's really hard for me personally. I'm working on making it so that these ideas are more accessible so that other people could do it. And I have a couple clients I'm doing some of this kind of hardcore meal planning for, and it just helps me like figure out all these micro details to make it so that anybody watching this interview right now can simplify meal planning, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
steps, but mainly like Stacey, you're a professional organizer and you're like, I love organizing, right? And so you're the anchor of organization with in your family.
Yeah.
And so like that's easy, but like for folks, at home thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm not a professional organizer and I'm certainly not a dietitian and chef.
Yeah.
And like how can I, and you love cooking, um and organizing and eating healthy. Like not everybody has our superpowers.
That's
So like
true.
what would you share, like how your mindset, because like I think in part like a lot of what I talk about in terms of mindset for health is like it's a choice, like to be happy and to figure out these details, and you don't, it's not about like perfection. Some days you're just going to have like I like calling it like the three ingredient dinners, right?
Yeah.
So if you got your protein, your carbohydrate with fiber and energy, and then your vegetables, like fine. So it could be chicken or salmon, it could be black beans, salsa. It counts as a vegetable depending on how it's made, but like that's not the only
Yeah.
vegetable. You could do better. And then broccoli, chicken, broccoli, black beans, and salsa. Call it a day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on how to enhance your own superpowers if you weren't born with them. Um, so not only can you just freeze like chicken breast, that's not really helpful, particularly for families like busy parents who are trying to pull meals together really quickly in between running their kids all over Kingdom Come for various sporting events and extracurriculars. Everybody's busy. Like if it's Tuesday night and there's frozen chicken breast, you're like, that's great. I don't have time to defrost that or do anything with it now. Nope. And then maybe you do take out pizza or something instead because that's what you have time for. So what I would recommend is before you put the chicken or whatever the protein is in the freezer, prepare it. It takes less than 10 minutes to make ground beef or even a beef alternative like Impossible Burger. Throw some taco seasonings on it and saute it in a skillet while you're doing other things, while you're putting the rest of your groceries away. And by the time you get your groceries put away, you have a skillet that's full of pre-prepared meat. Let it cool, pack it up in like sandwich-sized Ziploc bags, and put it in the freezer. It doesn't take very long to defrost something that's already cooked and seasoned. You put that in the microwave, and then you can throw it on some pasta and put some grated Parmesan cheese or something over it. I mean, maybe not with taco seasoning, but yeah,
Frozen broccoli.
frozen broccoli. Yeah. Oh, frozen vegetables. I'm more likely to buy frozen than fresh because if I decide they don't sound good, they're not going to rot. They're just in there for whenever I need them. But yeah, the
Totally.
proteins, it's like pull chicken in the crock pot or do chicken on the stove top as well. Just season it. You can do lemon pepper. It does not have to be exotic or fancy. You can Google any marinade recipe. They're all delicious. And just make the stuff and pre-portion it and then freeze it because then it's ready for you. And if you have 10 minutes, it's doable.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a fan of freezing raw meat of any kind, like a freezing single portion of fish if you buy it frozen
Mhm.
already. I'm a big fan of that. Like at Whole Foods, they have individual portions because then you
Yeah.
could just grab them. I've cooked them from frozen in the oven. That's awesome. But like chicken or beef or whatever, like I've frozen ground bison or beef or
Mhm.
whatever, that's fine. But like try to make it so that you have something that's closer to complete, because we're going to have that'll increase like the chances of eating healthy versus takeout pizza any
Definitely.
day. And we're not saying takeout pizza is a bad thing.
No.
There's room for anything, and there's a room and time for everything, but it's just the frequency, the risk and frequency.
Yes, exactly. I like for
Make
the
it
pizza
doable.
night to be kind of intentional and more of a treat and not like your automatic go-to because that's what you have time for.
The oh no. Absolutely. Be
Yeah.
intentional. That's what meal planning is about. That's my definition of meal planning is an intentional eating.
Yep.
Because if you make a plan for it, then you feel good about it, because we don't want to increase the risk of people feeling guilty about anything, because it doesn't help.
Right. Nope, it doesn't. Don't beat yourself. If you have the pizza, do not beat yourself up for it. Don't beat yourself up for it. Just, I don't know, maybe have something else tomorrow.
Exactly, exactly. So we talked about how you and your husband make a meal planning happen. Is there anything about mealtime at home that you want to share?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about how my family's of origin, the fact that we would sit around the dinner table and have conversations while we ate. I love that. That's kind of what I would prefer. But my husband and I, we don't have kids, and he's a much faster eater than I am, so we tend to not bother with the dinner table because it turns into him watching me finish my meal, which is not that fun for either of us. So we do lots of meals, almost every meal in front of the TV. But sometimes we kind of flip that on its head, and instead of the TV, like we'll put on we have a record player, we'll put on a record and we'll listen to music while we're sitting on the couch. And that way, like it's we're sitting there together and talking to each other, but it's a little bit less formal than having somebody just like watching you eat. So I would say, yeah, that my current eating routine could use a little work. I do a lot of things in a hurry these days. Lots of grab and go stuff in the morning, or eating on my feet in front of the kitchen sink for breakfast. But yeah, there are ways that you can sort of game it to get a little more quality out of your interactions, particularly if you're eating with other people.
Yeah. I mean, if one person's actually chewing, the other person's talking or whatever.
Yeah.
I tend to be a slow eater myself. I'm usually the one that wins slowest. um, it's good for digestion to
It
chew
is.
your
It's better
food.
to chew slowly and savor. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. And then I think the next question I have for you is, what's your process in prioritizing self-care and what you think about self-care? And it sounds like meal planning is an aspect of self-care
Hmm.
for you.
Most definitely. I think because I most of the time I enjoy cooking. I don't really enjoy grocery shopping, if I'm honest, but even there, like I'll sometimes I will be intentionally inefficient about my grocery shopping and hit two supermarkets instead of one because it means that I have to walk a whole mile instead of 3 blocks. I'll do things like that on purpose because I figure, okay, now I'm getting exercise and I'm getting my grocery shopping done, just like pulling my little grocery cart through the neighborhood. And that way it's like two birds, one stone. I feel pretty good about it when I get home. That's one way that I sort of sneak exercise into my food routine. And other self-care, I mean, in terms of what I eat, like I mostly eat pretty healthy, but there are days when a bag of Cheetos, that's my self-care. Like I need it. It
Get it
just
out of your
feels like
system.
it totally feels like the right thing to do. And yeah, I eat it, I get it out of my system, but then I don't keep things that I know I can binge way too easily. I do not keep in the house as a general rule. I've been
That's super
accused of not,
helpful.
right? I've been accused of not having any fun food in my house because I will go through it at a pretty good clip and then wonder how my pants don't fit. So it just doesn't live in my house. But again, like we live pretty close to a couple different markets. And if I really have that craving, I can walk someplace. It makes me walk. So I can walk there and get whatever the thing is that I have the craving for, and I just get what I'm going to eat that moment and not more.
Right, not a huge bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a great idea because it's environmental control to not have extra stuff in the house. Because if you bring it in, it's when your house is or where you live is your sacred place. Your
Yep.
body is your first home, and then where you live is your second home. And I think it's like when we have the craving of whatever it is, like get the single serving of ice cream, Haagen-Dazs or whatever your favorite is, or like the Cheetos or whatever you want, and then have it be intentional. Go for a walk, go to the fancy ice cream store, enjoy it with people, whatever. Make
Yeah.
it intentional, make it a choice. Because sometimes like there might be some kind of feelings that we want to work out, and like the walk actually could make it so that you're distracted enough and don't need the thing, or maybe you need, like the choice is yours always.
Right. And also, I should say I fully acknowledge that not everybody lives a few blocks from a bunch of grocery stores. That's a extremely lucky position to be in. But I think there are definitely ways, like even if you have to go to a big superstore like a Walmart or some place for groceries, you can even just walk around the store. Although then you're at risk for wanting to buy other things. But there's ways that you can sort of like sneak some extra activity into your grocery shopping. And yeah, I think for me when I feel like eating naughty food, if I am intentionally inefficient about it, it takes me longer. I have time to sit and think about what exactly is going on in my life that makes me want to plow through a bag of Cheetos right now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
kind of
And
gets you
the
more
yeah,
conscious.
call it not just what.
It kind of brings you to a level of consciousness about what you're experiencing right then.
Exactly, elevating consciousness for sure. And the in terms of like grocery shopping, sometimes we want to have like that efficient shopping list so
Hmm.
that we can just go to the grocery store and go to the different departments and then
Yeah.
get in and out. But like it's not a bad thing to do a little extra walking.
Yeah. That is a really good point. So when I do, I use all kinds of little productivity tools to manage this whole food business. So we're kind of a Mac family. I have a love-hate relationship with Mac, but who cares? That's what we use. And so I use the Reminders app and the Notes app, and those are both native apps that are built into the Mac ecosystem. So you have it on your phone, you have it on your computer, on your iPad. All of those devices have these two apps. As long as they're synced with the cloud, you can enter notes on one device and it syncs across all of your devices. So if we're sitting on the couch and we're menu planning, we open up the notes app and we keep a grocery list. And that's where we put the ingredients that we need as we're looking at recipes. And once all of those items are on the list, right before I go to the grocery store, I will actually move the items so that they are in alignment with the way the grocery store is laid out. So that as I'm going through the produce aisle, I get all the produce. And then I go down the, bread, pasta, and sauce aisle. And then that makes it so much easier if you only have 10 minutes to go grocery shopping. That little bit of extra work that you do in setting up your list will actually save you from having to traverse the store 3 times to get all of the stuff on your list or risk forgetting something.
Oh yeah, I mean I would rather run around the store a couple times than forget something.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like, so would you rather go for a walk to the beach and then you got 10 minutes to grocery shop, that kind of thing?
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, I mean, systemizing things so that you're just like, productive and everything. But there's also like, I intentionally spend a little more extra time. I mean, I'm looking for ingredients, new ingredients or ingredients for certain clients and stuff at different grocery stores. Because we
Yeah.
got Trader Joe's locally, we have Safeway, we have Whole Foods, we have a bunch of different other grocery stores or local markets or whatever, and they all have different stuff. And so sometimes there's a new product, or like I'll forget about something, and sometimes you have a little bit more time, like the extra 10 minutes to kind of like peruse and see like,
Hmm.
because we need to make sure we have enough variety, because if we don't have enough variety, then maybe like the Cheetos kind of situation happens. I'm just
We get
saying, it's
bored and
another
overwhelmed.
idea. We might be feeling the feelings, we might need more variety in some way. We also might need crunch if
Yeah.
there's not enough crunch in the foods. Like that's why, like, having like some kind of like crunchy slaw kind of deal with like cabbage and carrot and crunchy things to chew through is helpful, because humans need to chew through things.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, if we can, not everybody, some people have issues with chewing, but there's always like some sort of somebody. But so yeah, I think it's helpful to think about how to, I mean, Stacey, like now this is the perfect time to talk about like how you help your clients organize. Like you just shared about like creating organized grocery lists, and you're all about productivity. So this is just like a perfect segue.
Yeah, for folks whose kitchens I've had the pleasure and privilege to help organize, I love refrigerators and pantries especially because um I know this is a theme here, a running theme, but I really do try to reduce food waste, and it's not just about saving the planet, it's also about just keeping you from having to spend two or three times the money that you need on food items because if you don't know what you have in your pantry and you go to the store, you're going to be like, do I have this? Do I not have it? I'm going to pick it up just in case. You get it home, you put it in the pantry right next to the other three bottles that are identical because, if you, so I try to, I try to lay out a pantry and also a refrigerator so that you can see everything that's inside of it as much as possible without having to pull things out and look behind. And because if you have to do that, you're just not going to. So anything that's front and center, right in your face, that's what you see and notice. Everything that's behind it may as well not even be there. So I'll use risers or little shelf inserts in pantries to kind of get the ingredients at the back of the pantry up a level so they're at least in your line of sight. Yeah,
Make them visible.
that's right. Because out of sight, out of mind. And the same goes for the refrigerator. A lot of times there's stuff hiding at the back that you don't know is there. Not only that, with some refrigerators, most refrigerators, if they're too full, the air cannot circulate properly and food freezes. So you might wonder why you take out a bag of salad greens and they're frozen, and now you have to throw them out because there's no saving that. So you gotta a little upfront planning and um, strategic planning will save you from that and save you money. So throwing less stuff in the garbage, saving more money.
I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's time. Time is finite, and we have a fixed amount of time.
yeah.
Money as well as food, and it's like resources, right? Those are all resources.
Mhm. And I know I mean, there's a lot of popular home organizing shows right now where you see the beautiful acrylic bin and it's very polished looking. That's great. If that's your aesthetic, we can definitely do things like that. But I encourage people to use whatever they have already on hand. So if you've got an Amazon box that came in the mail and it's about, like half the size of a shoebox, something like that could be a really good riser that you just put in the back of the pantry to get your ingredients elevated so you can see them. Nobody knows what's underneath that. If it's made of cardboard or clear plastic, it's hidden, so who cares? So you can really use inexpensive, already have it at home items to help you out with that type of thing. Um, yeah, things like snacks, granola bars. A lot of busy parents will have boxes. You go to Costco and you get the 30 pack of whatever the thing is. The box that it comes in takes up your entire shelf. Take it out of the box or cut the box and use the box itself as the organizer and stack the granola bars up so that you can literally just pick one out and move on with your day. And that way little hands aren't rifling through your whole pantry and making it chaotic. So there's lots of completely free organization hacks out there to make your pantry and refrigerator a lot more functional and save you time and money.
Awesome. I love that. And like there's also a balance of like not having, I mean, I've done this myself where I had because I had a box of the bars, whatever the bars are, I had like two or three of them back to back because I was
Mhm.
like hungry. I was having a thing, productivity or like distracted. You're not being productive because I'm distracted. I'll own my situation. Um and distracted and like, oh, I'm hungry, get a bar, and then you just go for another one. So if you're somebody that's high risk for that kind of thing, you can keep those kind of bars if it makes sense in the freezer.
Mhm.
If you have space, whatever, so that you're at less risk of having them, and at least they're hard, it slows you down a little bit.
Yes.
um and then like instead of having 30, like you get a box of whatever from Costco that's 30 bars of if you keep some of them out and then the rest behind, so you have to intentionally go and get the rest from wherever, that could
Yeah.
also help with not overdoing it, because it can be easy to just all of a sudden have too many of whatever it is. And that's like not only a cost thing but a time thing. Like I'm a huge fan of going and doing like a big run of something, but sometimes the big run, one, there's too much, if you get too much produce, it's going to go bad.
Mhm.
And that's the whole point about being intentional about this stuff. and making a plan before you go because you might not need whatever. I've
Hmm.
had some neighbors that years ago who did the Costco run, and then 2 weeks later the compost, we have compost bins here in San Francisco, was all huge bags of salad stuff. And I was like, didn't have a plan.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, if you're looking at your week ahead and there are things that you're like, I think this is how the week is going to go, but maybe not. Don't like you're better off buying not enough than too much. Particularly if you do the things that we already talked about, which is make sure that you have at least a few pretty close to grab and go options in the freezer, like pre-prepared meats or beans, like cans of beans. That kind of stuff is like you throw it in the microwave and 3 minutes later you've got something that you can put on rice, pasta, bread, whatever. And then if you just buy some vegetables, you're way less at risk of putting things in the garbage. Yeah, I think life happens a lot, and we want to make sure that we have the flexibility to not throw food out. So just buy what you know for sure you need and worry about the rest at the end of the week. Or if you have a
Yeah,
bunch of broccoli in the refrigerator, chop it up and put it in the freezer. A lot of vegetables
totally.
to freeze.
Absolutely. And you can freeze like chopped up kale, or if you have kale, you can cut it up if it's washed and then it's dry, then you could just put it in like a freezer Ziploc bag and freeze it. And you could put that in smoothies or, soups or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, I do that a lot because my smoothie game is really strong for my organizing gig because a lot of times I find myself on longer assignments where I don't really slow down to eat, and I'm also not drinking enough water like I should. So if I bring hydrating food to my job, it's either soup or a smoothie or both sometimes. Then even the food that I'm eating is hydrating, and it kind of like helps me maintain hydration throughout the day.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of eating moist foods to help with the hydration, because then you're keeping things moving then.
Exactly. It's good for cats and dogs, it's good for people. Definitely.
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. So what I love about Stacey, you are you're not judgmental. You're like, let's figure it out and use what you have. And you really like, you don't, you're affordable, your services are affordable, and you've done some remote work with people where you just give them some, tips to start off with, like or you can explain it more, but like an organizer starter kit, that's what I would describe it as.
Yeah.
Or like you go to their home and you like organize. And so I think you just have like so many different options, and it's just like where you want to get started, because it's not about being like turning it, if you're not, if you want to get organized where you are in the spectrum of organization, I'm with like, I want to get more organized, and I look forward to talking to Stacey about this more for sure. And like it you're not going to turn into like this magically like perfect person overnight. It's just a process. And then once you have a better, like a system of organization, just like meal planning, you
Mhm.
just continue to fine tune over time.
Yep. Exactly. I think perfection is it's just a silly goal. I'm not perfect. I mean, I do this for a living and I still have areas in my house that are not completely 100% optimized. That's just not realistic. That's not we're human. So, I think striving for better, like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're at a 1 right now and we can get you to a 3, that's awesome. That's what you want because if you can kind of make small adjustments or improvements and you start to see the value, then you're a little bit more likely to have the confidence and the desire to keep going and try either other areas of your home, other aspects of your life. You just start to realize that things are easier, you have a little more breathing room. So I'm rarely, not rarely, I'm never really looking for perfection and I just want better for myself and for other people. So I don't expect that anybody else's space is going to look and feel like mine because mine might be annoying to some other people, like maybe too tidy. Some people like the comfort of stuff in their line of sight. Some people find it distracting and they want to get rid of it. Whatever your thing is, um, I have tools, tips, and techniques to help you get to where you want to go, at least closer to the goal.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's just about being a little bit better.
yeah,
The same goes with meal planning. And I think that I like how you just shared about the perfection piece, because I think a lot of people think when they think about health or meal planning or organization, they just make the assumption that you and I are the most perfect people ever. And we're not. We're still human, remember? Humans are not perfect. That's what the equation is. So, or the formula. Um, and I just think it's really important that make no assumptions. We're not judgmental people. We are like just here to serve.
yeah. And I think the trap a lot of people fall into, both with meal prep and eating nutritious food, if you feel like you can't get it right or do it perfectly, that it's not worth those little improvements along the way. The same goes with organizing. If you feel like your whole entire house is a giant cluster and it's too overwhelming and you're never going to get there, so you're never going to make any small improvements, because what's the point? Like, just take a few deep breaths, and it turns out you can actually add time to your lifespan by making small improvements to your diet and your exercise routine, and just those little self-care things that can really give you a mood boost and make your life better. And with organizing, same thing. Like, if you have a big trip and fall hazard all the way through your house, hey, let's just clear a path so you can see at least 2 feet of floor. That might be as good as you can do, and that is still better and safer for you than, maybe what your baseline is today.
I think that's perfect. Yeah. I mean, sometimes when I recommend starting with a shelf,
Mhm.
like the refrigerator. Sometimes it can feel like, oh my God, the refrigerator needs to be cleaned.
Yeah,
And so like I'll do, or the freezer or whatever, I'll do the door. I'll
yeah,
do the freezer or the refrigerator door. Like that's doable to me. And then, next week I'll do a shelf or the drawers or whatever. And so it's what you can do in like the 5 minutes that you have, because you
yep,
want it to get done, and that'll help you get that much closer to getting it done.
yeah. Yeah, baby steps, little incremental steps, like 5 minutes here or there. Like, if you did 5 minutes a day, every day of anything, whether it's exercise, eating better, tackling a messy part of your house, that's,
You're off and
that's
running.
you're off and running. It's still going to be so much better than doing absolutely nothing. So you don't have to boil the ocean and tackle a whole huge project or life overhaul like right now today. That's just silly. It's not going to stick. But if you can build those little habits into your daily routine, it's a lot more likely to have traction over time.
Exactly. So if you have a thing in your head that, starts creating a story that's like, oh no, it's too overwhelming, or oh, I can't do that, or the negative voice or whatever, just tell yourself, that's kind of silly. Let's just focus on what we can do.
And if you need help, that's what Alicia and I are here for.
Exactly. We're happy to
Sometimes you just need
serve.
a buddy, and that's the thing that helps get you over the hump of, oh, this is too hard, I can't do it. You can
Yeah,
totally do it. We can help.
that's what organizing, like coaching. Stacey, you do coaching, right? Within your work, because you can't just organize without the coaching.
Yeah, you have to have conversations about why something works or doesn't work, or if something bothers you or doesn't bother you. You kind of have to, you always have to know what the why is, what the reason is behind somebody's preferences and current lifestyle, to be able to solve the problems. And when you have those conversations, then you can kind of say, oh, okay, well, based on your lifestyle, your habits, your preferences, these are things that could be really helpful. And then you try it for a while. If it doesn't work, we fine tune it. But yeah, there's lots of coaching and consulting that happens, in order for any changes that we make to be long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like, when I've made a lot of changes with some of you guys watching know I'm legally blind or low vision. And so I continue to learn how to do things better as I learn what it means to be somebody with vision impairment. And like there's some things that I just like I have to maintain that habit, even though I know it's not the most efficient or productive habit, because I'm not ready to change it. Like at some point I need to learn how to do dictation, and like I know that I've been talking about that for a while. I'm gonna go with 8 years. but like I'm more ready than ever before. It's actually more like I need to make it happen now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like we're not ready until we're ready. And so like you might be able to change certain aspects, but not others.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
be you and do you, because that's the best and that's who you know how to be.
Exactly. And I think for you and for me and what we do when we're talking to people, having the ability to recognize that is the difference. Like, and that's everything because you don't want to push people into something they are clearly not ready for. And sometimes it's not that clear whether they're ready or not. You have to frame conversations in a particular way to get to the goodness underneath that gives you the information that you need to understand this person needs some help in this area, but they're ready for, steps 1 through 3 and not 4 through 10 right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that I can, because I just shared about my vision impairment. I want to also share that I can see when I'm working with my clients. I work with clients virtually. I can see the face of don't, no, no. I see that face. Like I'll be like, okay, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
You know, because I know I challenge people, like
Yeah.
I'm here to challenge, and Stacey challenges as well. And we gotta push to know where we can go and where we can't go. And
Yes.
then if we know that that's something that's interesting to the person that we're talking to, and at a later date, we'll bring it back.
Exactly. We'll take really
And
good notes and we'll dust it off later.
exactly. So a lot of times when people we're summarizing now, we just talked about a lot of information about organizing, meal planning, setting yourself up for success in general. So you can, eat healthy more often in a quick and delicious way. And so Stacey, tell listeners how they can reach you, and all of the information will be in the description box of this video. But tell everybody how they can reach you if they want to work with you and they want more information.
For sure. You can see a little bit more about me and my values and my philosophy about organizing at staceytunteri.com. STACEYTUNTERI.com. There's a contact form there if you want to get in touch with me. Just fill that out and we'll start the conversation.
Fabulous. Do you offer a free consult?
I do offer a free consult. I have a 30-minute consult that's free.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to collaborating with you, because I'm pretty sure that that would be a good fit, and I think listeners are thinking that as well.
Yeah, anybody who wants to get their kitchen game on, heck, call both of us. We could do a collaboration in your kitchen.
I know. Cool. Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure sharing time with you, Stacey, to be continued, and maybe we'll have you back for another interview in the future.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.